Welcome, learners, to another deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a truly fascinating journey. It's a topic so many of you have been curious about: the incredible world of natural medicine and herbal remedies. We're talking about how ancient wisdom, rooted in the power of plants, is increasingly meeting and even validating modern science. It's about fundamentally empowering our approach to health. We've been immersed in some, well, remarkably insightful source material for this deep dive. This includes extensive excerpts from conversations with Dr. Simon Mills. Now, he's a pioneer, recognized globally as one of the most respected and influential herbal practitioners of our time. We're talking over 50 years of experience here. This isn't just theory, it's half a century of practical application and deep understanding.
Indeed. And what Dr. Mills articulates so powerfully, and what we really aim to convey to you today, is that his mission is truly about helping people get stronger. He often uses this analogy like building a better boat to navigate life's inevitable challenges. It's about taking those old wisdoms, the profound knowledge of plants, and bringing them into a scientific framework, one that can integrate with and maybe even enhance conventional healthcare.
Right. So our mission for you today is to unpack all of this. We want to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, giving you a real shortcut to being well-informed. Thinking about how you can rethink medicine, your daily food choices, and your own body's amazing capacity to heal itself. Get ready to explore some surprising facts and practical applications that might just, well, change how you approach your daily well-being. Okay, so let's dive right in. Dr. Mills often speaks about a lost wisdom. It sounds almost mythological, doesn't it?
Oh.
But what did we truly forfeit as we distanced ourselves from nature's pharmacy? And what are the tangible consequences we're seeing today?
It's a profound historical shift, really. Think about it. For millennia, communities lived intrinsically linked to nature. I mean, plants were the primary, often the only, source of medicine. This was literally life or death knowledge passed down. But with urbanization, new, often more aggressive illnesses emerged. This led to a need for, well, stronger stuff, minerals, even poisons sometimes, that required specialized training to handle safely. And in this shift, the soft and gentle plants, they were largely discarded, paving the way for the rise of the pharmaceutical industry in, the era of the pill.
So we collectively started to believe that plants were perhaps too slow, maybe too weak, or just plain ineffective compared to these new, powerful compounds. That's a common perception even today.
Precisely. And Dr. Mills directly challenges that. He emphasizes that many herbal remedies actually have a pretty immediate effect, sometimes within an hour. He often tells his patients, ask them to call him the very next day, because change can happen so quickly. The idea that natural means slow isn't always accurate at all.
That's a fascinating counterpoint, but it does raise an important question for many listeners. Why should we even care about this lost wisdom now, especially when modern medicine provides such advanced solutions? For many, popping a pill is just far simpler.
Well, a key insight from Dr. Mills's practice offers a really compelling answer here. Many of his patients arrive with chronic complex conditions, things that haven't fully responded to conventional treatments. They've often been told, quite devastatingly, there's nothing else we can do. That's a tough place to be. And this is when they seek alternatives. Herbs can fine-tune or maybe up the performance of underlying body functions. They're not just masking symptoms. They're going back to fix things that may have been out of alignment for a long, long time. He's personally seen, I think the figure is upwards of 10,000 patients, supporting everything from individuals living better with cancer to those managing chronic inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. Huge range.
And on that note, Dr. Mills has some strong words for conventional medicine, particularly about the overuse of certain drugs. For listeners who might be taking antibiotics or PPIs, this could be quite confronting. How does he articulate the deeper issues with these widely prescribed medications?
Yeah, this is a critical area for him. He points out that omeprazole, a proton pump inhibitor, or PPI for acid reflux, well, it's the most widely prescribed drug in both the UK and US, yet he believes it's often mostly unnecessary.
Yeah.
And now long-term use is being linked to serious issues like cancers and dementias. That's pretty scary stuff. And what's particularly challenging for patients is the rebound effect. When you try to stop, your stomach often overcompensates, producing more acid. It makes it incredibly difficult to come off the drug.
Wow. And then there's the growing, frankly terrifying crisis of antibiotic resistance, which affects absolutely all of us.
Absolutely. The World Health Organization calls it one of the top global health threats. No exaggeration. We're seeing a dramatic rise in deaths from antibiotic-resistant infections, 1.27 million global deaths in 2019 alone. And those figures, they're rising rapidly. In the U.S., it's estimated roughly 30% of antibiotic prescriptions are unnecessary. 30%. This overuse kills off beneficial bacteria, it dramatically reduces our gut microbiome diversity, and through natural selection, it creates stronger, resistant strains. It's a serious, serious issue we can't ignore.
So the very drugs we rely on to fight infection are also potentially damaging the delicate ecosystem within us, particularly our gut. And Dr. Mills makes a really compelling argument that the gut is truly the foundational starting point for health, doesn't he? Like, it's where so much of our overall well-being begins.
He absolutely does. He describes the gut as this incredibly intelligent system. From the moment you swallow food, countless decisions are made along those, 23 feet of intestines, all without our conscious control. The lining is dense with receptors constantly responding to chemical cues, orchestrating metabolic and hormonal functions throughout the entire body. It's amazing.
And this incredibly intelligent gut system has this whole population of tiny residents. And that's where the microbiome truly takes center stage, isn't it?
Well, it's particularly striking. The microbiome, the billions of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes living in our gut, it practically runs the show.
Yeah.
We actually have more of these microbial cells than our own human cells. Think about that. We're essentially walking gut bags, and they have 100 times our genetic capacity. Critically, they're essential for processing many beneficial compounds from plants, making them available, usable to our bodies.
Wow. That sounds like a profound insight. It completely redefines how we look at our diet. He talks about food be thy medicine. What does that actually mean in this context?
It's a core belief for Dr. Mills, and it's deeply rooted in global cultures. He notes that most cultures, with the notable exception of historically white English-speaking countries like the UK, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, well, they still widely use plants as their first form of medication. In France, for example, pharmacies are typically stocked mostly with herbal medicines. In Germany, you might even need to sit a specific herbal exam to get a license to practice. Our departure from this norm is actually the anomaly, historically speaking.
That's a stark difference, isn't it? And the popular advice we always hear to eat the rainbow, what's the science behind that for our gut and overall health?
Okay, so the vibrant colors in plants are produced by constituents called polyphenols. These are powerful natural compounds. They have valuable properties for our circulatory system, our gut health, our brain health. You name it. And these polyphenols, they actually feed our gut microbiome, helping it perform better. And here's where it gets really interesting. The microbiome then processes these polyphenols into postbiotics. Postbiotics are essentially the beneficial byproducts created when your gut microbes digest those plant compounds. And these postbiotics are the actual medicines that work wonders throughout the body. It's a real game changer for understanding how plants truly work inside us.
Okay, so with all this in mind, if we're looking for practical, immediate ways to use plants for common ailments, what are some of Dr. Mills's go-to recommendations? Let's start with something incredibly common, like feeling that awful cold coming on.
Right. For conditions that respond well to heat like colds, chills, maybe headaches, menstrual cramps, or even some joint pain, Dr. Mills highly recommends ginger and cinnamon. Just grating a thumb-sized piece of fresh ginger with about a teaspoon of cinnamon into hot water creates this wonderfully warming drink. This blend, it stimulates pain fibers, opens up blood vessels, loosens mucus, and really helps flush out congestion. It's a powerful, comforting, and simple remedy.
Okay, I like the sound of that. What about the opposite situation if you're feeling too hot, perhaps with a fever or maybe some digestive discomfort?
Then you'd turn to cooling remedies, which are known as bitters. Dandelion and burdock are common examples you might find. Bitters work by stimulating appetite and digestion. They bring blood to the body's core, which can actually help lower body temperature during a fever. It's a subtle but effective way to rebalance. Even a strong espresso without sugar, taken after a meal, functions as a bitter to aid digestion. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, very interesting. Now, given our earlier discussion on antibiotic resistance, which is such a huge concern, what are some plant-based allies for infections, particularly those low-level ones that might otherwise get an unnecessary prescription?
Garlic, often affectionately called Russian penicillin, and for good reason. It's a powerful prebiotic, meaning it feeds good gut bacteria, and it boasts impressive antimicrobial properties. For low-level gut or lung infections, Dr. Mills sometimes suggests what he calls a garlic intensive. This involves consuming about 8 raw, chopped cloves over the course of an evening. Look, it's tough on the breath, undoubtedly. There's no getting around that. But the oil of garlic is a potent antiseptic, and it appears to encourage good gut bacteria while actively deterring the bad ones.
Wow, that garlic intensive sounds incredibly potent. I can almost smell it from here, but the idea of a natural Russian penicillin is certainly compelling, especially with those resistance concerns. Did he mention any unique remedies specifically for infections in the mouth and throat area?
Yes, he highlights several useful ones there. Echinacea, specifically the angustifolia root extract, is one. When you take it, it produces this powerful tingling sensation that directly stimulates white blood cells right there in the throat tissue. It activates the immune system's front line where it's needed most. He also champions ancient resins like frankincense, boswellia, and myrrh. These have been valued for millennia, literally, for their ability to reduce infections in the mouth, throat, and sinuses. Amazing history there.
Moving on to chronic issues then. Dr. Mills has a very different perspective on inflammation compared to what we often hear. We're usually told, suppress it immediately with drugs. What's his view?
He makes a truly profound statement, actually. He says, inflammation is not the enemy. This is a major paradigm shift for many people. He explains it's actually a natural, intelligent defense mechanism. It brings the body's marines, the white blood cells, to the site to clear out problems. Acute inflammation, like what happens with a cut or a sprained ankle, that's the body effectively healing itself. It's a good thing. It's only when the junk keeps piling in, as he puts it, leading to chronic inflammation, that it becomes a problem. And that problem often originates upstream, typically starting in the gut.
So the real insight here isn't just about finding alternatives to ibuprofen, although that's part of it. It's about fundamentally rethinking inflammation itself. Moving from seeing it as an enemy to understanding it as a vital, intelligent defense mechanism that we actually need to support, not just suppress.
Exactly.
And the journey to supporting it often starts with asking why it's happening, rather than just cutting off the signal.
Precisely. While ibuprofen effectively cuts the inflammatory process, it also suppresses a vital defense. For chronic joint pain or arthritis, for example, instead of solely relying on internal medications, topical remedies like mustard or cayenne pepper plasters can bring blood directly to the affected area. This reduces the body's need for that painful systemic inflammatory response. It's about working with the body's wisdom, not fighting against it.
That makes so much sense when you put it like that. What about diet then, specifically for chronic issues and disease prevention? Things like cancer and cardiovascular health, which are such huge concerns today.
Food, Dr. Mills stresses, is paramount, absolutely central. For cancer prevention, it fundamentally means correcting poor diets. Too much unhealthy fat, simple carbs, sugar, processed meats, the usual suspects. For cardiovascular health, which remains the biggest killer in developed countries, it's about a powerful combination: nutrient-rich food and regular exercise. Not rocket science, but crucial. And he highlights specific spices like turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon for their significant vascular benefits.
Right, turmeric is everywhere now. You see countless supplements containing curcumin. What's the real story there, especially considering what we just learned about the microbiome?
This is where the postbiotic concept becomes crucial again.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, really. Curcumin from turmeric is actually quite poorly absorbed into the blood on its own. So its powerful anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving effects, which, for conditions like arthritis, have been shown in studies to be comparable to ibuprofen. They primarily come from a conversation it has with your microbiome in the gut. The good gut bacteria break down curcumin into those active postbiotics, which then get absorbed and work throughout the body. So you can see how a healthy, diverse microbiome is absolutely essential to even get the benefits from turmeric. It's not just about swallowing the pill.
That really connects the dots. Okay, what about cholesterol? It's a massive topic. Statins are incredibly common. How do plants help with managing cholesterol? And how does Dr. Mills suggest we maybe rethink it?
Yeah, high cholesterol is certainly seen as a major risk factor, but Dr. Mills encourages us to perhaps rethink it a bit, to see it often as a sign of liver distress, rather than just a number that needs suppressing at all costs. So instead of solely relying on statins, he suggests that a more plant-based diet, consistent exercise, and specific liver-supporting herbs, like artichoke leaf and dandelion root, can help reduce cholesterol levels naturally. They work by enhancing its flushing out through bioproduction. It's about supporting the body's own clearance systems.
Let's shift to brain health, especially with concerns about cognitive decline and dementia. This is a big topic for many of us. Are there specific plants that Dr. Mills highlights for supporting our cognitive function?
Oh yes, this is where it gets really compelling. Dr. Mills points to several powerful allies for the brain. Regular consumption of green tea, for instance. It's rich in those beneficial polyphenols we talked about. And studies consistently link it to a lower risk of cognitive decline in Alzheimer's. How does it work? Well, it seems to modulate the neurovascular unit. That's the intricate interface between your brain's blood vessels and its delicate tissues, basically supporting better brain plumbing and function.
And I remember him specifically mentioning rosemary for remembrance, that old saying. Is there actually scientific backing for that?
Yes, rosemary. It's not just folklore, apparently. Simply Pressing and sniffing fresh rosemary allows its volatile oils to enter the brain directly. It happens via the olfactory lobe, the part of your brain processing smell, and this directly stimulates the limbic system, which is deeply involved in emotion, memory, and learning. Historically known for improving cognitive function, clinical trials are now showing promising pointers towards improved performance. It's definitely one to watch and so easy to incorporate to sniff some rosemary for long-term brain health.
All right, I have a feeling many listeners, including myself, are going to be thrilled about this next one. Dark chocolate. Please tell me it's good news.
Excellent news. Dark chocolate, or more accurately cocoa, is truly a medicine in many ways. Even within minutes of eating it, studies show beneficial changes in blood flow. This significantly supports both heart health and brain health. Plus, it has that natural uplifting effect, similar to coffee but perhaps smoother. Dr. Mills actually recommends a daily intake of about 5,100 grams of 75% or higher dark chocolate. So yes, it's a delicious way to support your well-being. Enjoy.
Fantastic. We also briefly touched on specific dietary approaches earlier. The keto diet, for example, is very popular right now. What's Dr. Mills's perspective on it?
The keto diet, yes. Look, it can be highly effective for some individuals. It can boost energy and significantly reduce insulin resistance. This can be particularly beneficial for conditions like PCOS and irregular menstrual cycles, which are often linked to insulin resistance. There's a real connection there. However, he cautions that it requires careful consideration. There can be potential strain on the liver and kidneys if it's not balanced with enough plant-based foods, enough fiber. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all solution and needs thought.
Good caveat. Finally, Dr. Mills shared a really simple yet powerful alternative to omeprazole for acid reflux, which he calls the raft principle. How does that work exactly?
It's quite ingenious, actually. Instead of shutting down stomach acid, which remember is vital for sterilizing our food and aiding digestion, the raft principle uses something different. It involves using mucilage-rich plants or seaweed gum. This is similar to the alginates found in products like Gaviscon. You take it after a meal, and this mucilage, it's a sticky, gelatinous substance, forms a protective mucus layer. It literally acts as a physical barrier. It floats on top of your stomach contents, physically preventing reflux without messing with the stomach's natural and essential functions. It's a really elegant physiological solution.
We've covered so much ground today. From rethinking inflammation, seeing it not as the enemy, but as a response to boosting brain health with things like green tea and, yes, even dark chocolate. Dr. Mills has truly opened our eyes to the incredible, often overlooked power of plants and the amazing intelligence humming away inside our own bodies.
Indeed. I think the overarching message from Dr. Mills is really clear. Reconnecting with the wisdom of nature and deeply understanding how our own bodies work is a powerful form of self-empowerment. It's about taking small, informed, and often surprisingly immediate steps towards better health. It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
So here's a provocative thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. If we consider the pervasive impact of things like antibiotic overuse and chronic inflammation in our modern world, and then we discover these immediate tangible benefits of simple plant remedies and dietary changes, well, what fundamental assumptions about our health and our medical systems might we need to challenge, not just for ourselves, but maybe for future generations too? Something to think about. We truly encourage you to explore these ideas further. Dr. Simon Mills's work is an absolute treasure trove of knowledge and practical wisdom. Think about how you might incorporate some of these ancient yet scientifically supported insights into your own daily life. Even small changes can make a difference. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this conversation has given you powerful new perspectives on health and well-being.